yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Born and dead, saved by love, count my blessings from above. Though in darkness, have no fear. Light will shine on those holding near. They know that sorrow they will pass. For I know in this life there will be something. But remember that love, yes it will. Love will reign. Yeah. Love will reign. Yeah. In my heart, I believe it. Love will reign. Oh, yeah, yeah. Have a vision, it's clear and plain. People living life, smiling again. Oh, see the children, they know no pain. Far from pressure, stress and strain. Oh, sorrow, they will pass. For I know in this life there's gonna be some pain. But remember that love, yes it will. I know. Yeah. Love will reign. Gotta believe it. In my heart, I truly believe sun will shine again. And love, I can hardly wait. We'll all be together. There'll be peace, peace, sweet peace, happiness and joy forever. Oh, yeah. One day, someday, hate will be over and love will reign. They won't last, for I know in this life there's gonna be some pain. But in the end, love will reign. Yeah.
Evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending upon where you are around the world. I'm Marcus Holmes, the love activist. I'm advocating for better love for you and me. So, whether you're live with me on Facebook, from where we're emanating from the 11 Self community page, or Marcus our Homes page, and I'm ready to share with some groups, or if you're live with us on TikTok or Instagram or Twitch TV or YouTube events or Twitter, take a moment, click share, tag someone who you think might benefit from some information around blended families, because this is our part two talking about blended families. And you will see me periodically looking at two different cameras because our TikTok friends and followers are not hooked into the same system that we all are. And so I just want to make sure that I have engagement with both of them. Thank you, Destiny Sins. I have a good spirit. I'm working on that. I'm working on that diligently to be the very best I can. So whatever platform you're on, please click share. Tag 5 of your followers or connections or friends, 5 of your subscribers and others to join us in this discussion as we continue to talk about, from our theme this year, we're talking love.more.2024. That's what we're talking about this evening. Because I don't know about you, I need more love in my life. I need to be more loving in my life, and I need to spread more love in the world. I know people think we need a war. I know people think we need to haggle over, if you're in the United States, about who will become the president. We need a superpower. What we really need is more love. And so we're committed this year to be more intentional with our love and more intentional with spreading love. We call it hashtag up our love game. So if you believe that hashtag, drop it in the comments, up our love game. Let me know where you're watching from, wherever you are, just to track with them, looking across platforms. And I'm going to share across platforms. So those of you that are joining TikTok, thank you to all of those that are coming through, and all of you on Facebook and Twitch and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube events. I'm so honored that you would join me at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I hope that you will click share right now and tag someone to join in this conversation around blended families. You know, if you've been watching Loving for any amount of time, you know I'm a pretty big fan of Gary Chapman's work. He is the author of the 5 love languages, right? A little bit about that. He also has some other writings. One of them is the 5 languages in the workplace. Another is the 5 apology languages, right? Well, more recently, as a part of Smart Step Families series, he's written a book, partnered in writing a book about blended families and how you can apply the love language to blended families. And if there's anybody here that's a part of a blended family or been part of a blended family, I want to hear from you. So drop comments and just say blended. And I want you to say that because something I love that Gary Chapman says in this work, and we'll get into it in a little bit, but he says, and I will read some excerpts tonight from the book. Hopefully you will get in, and I'm getting any cut. You know, I got a book out there. I want you to buy mine, but I do want you to buy Gary Chapman's book because it's a great book, especially if you have blended families. It's a great book because I know that people struggle sometimes with having the best blend. And he says in that, don't have blended families like a blender, because a blender, although it brings different things together, it has blades, it cuts. Think of it like a slow cooker, a crock pot, and that all of these different vegetables or different meats or whatever it is you would put in your stew or crock pot, they all have their individual flavor and texture and identity, but they soften when they're coming together. They work together to create a roux, and they create a wonderful aroma and flavor the longer that they cook, slow cook, right? And I want you to think about that when you're thinking about blended, because so often we go into a blended family thinking that we're going to just lay out the rules, we're going to lay out how one house worked versus the other. But really, it's the coming together of the individual personalities and people, personhood, even if there are children involved, especially if there are children involved, that you're bringing together the personhoods, and they're all softening hearts. And while you are a part of this brew, a part of this crock pot that's simmering, your heart becomes softened as well. So I love that that Gary Chapman's in the book, and I invite you to get a copy of the book. I think I can share my screen and show it really quickly to you. Well, that's the Kindle, so I don't. That's not. It's not showing me the cover right now, so I won't do that. But did you know the average blended family needs between 5 to 7 years to merge and form a family identity? Did you know that? And so that's where that slow cooker approach that Gary is talking about, not a blender. He says slow cookers blend ingredients quietly over a longer period of time. Ingredients are left intact when first put into the pot and are allowed to soften and begin to share of themselves in their own timing. He goes on to say this is a critical concept that can dramatically change the outcome of your family journey. Because we try to force love on children or force love on parents or force love on siblings, we violate the ingredients, he says. So it's like trying to smash the carrots or smash the potatoes. It's not necessary and it's not helpful when using a slow cooker, because eventually those ingredients will share what they have to offer to the entire dish, and they don't have to be mangled in the process, he's going to say. So one of the things that's important is respecting the individual identity, even though sometimes rigid, a rigid exterior, right? And inviting them to join and them to soften to make something that everybody can enjoy. In a blended family, everybody is asking, who am I to you? And who are we to each other? And who should we be? So it's this identity creation that you have to be patient with, that you cannot, even if you feel like someone is reluctantly coming. And we'll talk maybe a little bit about that in a few minutes, because you have to respect with fervent, patient love that not everybody sees a motivation for this family to come together. And that has to be okay for you, that not everybody's motivated to come together in a blended family. And there are varying types of reasons why. And depending upon those reasons will help you determine which one of those love languages that you should choose. So he goes on to talk about this level heat is what you want to do. It's loving with wisdom. That's what softens the heart. And even when you get it right, you know, if you cook the stew, it still takes a long time for it to cook in that crock pot, right? And so is the same with blending a step family. So while for ingredients to warm up or soften up and combine with other ingredients, you have to, he says, love generously. Okay? It doesn't mean violating people's space, because you can't rush it. You got to pace it. But it does mean allowing for time and grace and space for people to move and navigate on their own. If any of that is making sense to you, I want you to drop in the comments, blended families. That's what we're talking about. And I want to ask you, because this question, or this discussion rather, came out of an inbox conversation where there was a family issue happening where a young man had run away. I'm happy to report that he is back in the home, at least for now. He had run away because he was not getting along with the stepfather. And there can be so many different reasons. And before we take a quick break, I want to segue into one of those reasons. And I think women mean well. Listen, there are a ton of single mothers out there doing the very best you can. You're working, you're in school, you're at home doing homework, you're paying all the bills, you're doing an amazing job, and you're doing the very best that you can. But the reality is that we're blessed to find love again. You too have to make an adjustment in that slow cooker, because you're used to being the head of the house. And some people are used to having their male sons the man of the house, right? And so it really does take some slow cooking of the ingredients of the identity, where you begin to find that team balance. And we'll talk a little about that team balance tonight, so that You make room for your spouse to be able to take the fatherhood role where you have been performing it, mother and father. It's an interesting dynamic, isn't it? To be able to not acquiesce, but be able to yield some of that authority that you in the house to your mate so that that mate can stand in and be the dominant father figure in the home. And what that looks like has to take time. It is not something that you just over because there are so many things that could be attached. One of the things that could be attached is the trauma related to the loss of a parent. And when I say loss, I don't necessarily mean death. You could lose your parent to a divorce. A child can feel that he or she has had a loss of a parent to a divorce. The parent is non-custodial or bi-custodial or joint custodial and living in a home. And there are sometimes feelings of shame, feelings of guilt, feelings of betrayal. If there has been public um, irreconcilable differences or infidelity that that child may have been privy to, there are all of these feelings and they are attached to that other spouse because at the end of the day, that child, and in this case, the son, wanted to maintain that relationship with the who wasn't prepared to maintain the relationship because they didn't want to. Because sometimes fathers, mothers, even not prepared to maintain a relationship outside of that covenant or marriage structure. And it takes sometimes therapy, some growth for them to get there, right? And so literally a son could feel like he is betraying his father by forming a relationship with a stepfather. And mothers, you have to be aware of that son may feel like he's betraying the other parent. Daughter may feel like she is betraying the other parent. It isn't that they're averse to growing to know this new parent. They're averse of letting go of what they see as conflicting loyalties. And so you be prepared to take it slow in that situation and circumstance. I wanted to share that for the break because I think it's really important for our time together that even when you're resistance, someone is resisting um, participating in a blended family, it isn't just because they don't want to be a part. All right. So click share and we will be right back talking more about the love language for blended families.
What you wear says something about you, about who you are, what you believe, and what you stand for. So here in the Love and Stuff community, we wear the brand that we live, and we live the brand that we wear because we love the brand. It's all about increasing the amount of love in the world and upping our love game. And if that's what you're about, you should wear it too.
If you're about love this year, we want you to get into the brand. Love the brand you wear the brand you love, and live that brand. And that is the Love and Stuff brand. We're back and talking a little bit about blended families from Gary Chapman's work on blended families. I invite you to get that wonderful book. I'm reading it. I'm almost to the end of it. And the end is really an encouragement for your journey ahead. And I'm really excited to share that with you. Of course, there are many great books out there, hint, hint, but that is a great book I want you to pick up. There are clashing definitions. Gary Chapman writes in this book about of love. And these definitions spark hurt, anger, and protest in a family when people don't have congruence about definitions of love. Sometimes this is an attempt to push away the person who we feel is the offending person to loving in a way that's more consistent with the hurt person believing what should be happening. So let's say a step parent is loving a child and that child is not reciprocating in the love in a way that that step parent expects love. That can be hurtful, right? And sometimes when you believe that people should love you in a certain way, you end up getting hurt, and it backfires when you expect for people to only love you in the way that you think that they should love you, right? Sometimes it brings shame to the unloving person because it makes them feel like they're not good enough, right? It's the person who's hurt by the unloved looks selfish and immature. It can create tension and conflict in the home, and it will expand, Gary Chapman says, the emotional distance between the persons that are directly involved. And one of the worst things that can happen is when other family members jump in to defend or protect their fellow insider. He writes that insiders are biologically related and outsiders are step family members, right? And it puts the outsider or the step parent at a disadvantage because with biological parents, there is no competition for approval, right? You're not competing for your child's approval in most cases. We do know there are parents who want to be their children's friends, but most parents, I ain't your friends. Have you ever heard that saying? Somebody, your parent ever said to you, I ain't one of your little friends. You know, I know people in the African American diaspora will probably laugh right now because you've heard that before, right? I ain't one of your little friends, right? And so parents for approval, right? Not biological ones typically, but step parents often do, right? And it puts you in a position of weakness. And it makes you hesitate when you actually need to set some kind of boundary. And it puts the step parents at a distinct disadvantage, Gary Chapman writes, especially when it's clear the child is not nearly as motivated to love as the step parent, right? And parents struggle with this because you want your children to be in a wholesome, happy, healthy home, right? And especially if there was a break, if there was a fissure, if there was a severing of a relationship due to death or divorce or a breakup, you want your children to be part of a loving family, right? And so you need them to be because you're trying to get over the guilt. You feel that you may have exposed them to a fractured family, Gary Chapman says, even if it wasn't primarily your fault. So patience is a part of that crock pot, a part of that slow cooker, and so very important, very important. And then you have to factor in what he calls sharks. Oh, thank you, Darren Jennings, on Facebook. I don't know. I think I had older parents. I don't know that I'm wise, but I love it. I love you for that. You do have to factor in what Gary Chapman calls, and I'm talking from Chapman's language of love for blended families. He's talking about sharks, and he uses a pretty strong term there. I think that's pretty strong because what he's talking about is that other biological parent, maybe the ex-spouse. He's talking about other people in the family. He's talking about the stress of coming together that these sharks lie right under the ocean now swimming in. And it makes it difficult for you to really merge together. And you can imagine if there is a biological parent who is making the child contend for their loyalty and is trying to get that child to balance loyalty, it takes a bite out of the couple's solidarity, Gary Chapman says, because it's stressful in and of to compete for love. And child should be put in a position where he or she has to compete for parents' love. But oftentimes when parents separate for whatever the reason, the child gets lost somewhere in the middle instead of the parents seeing themselves, as Gary Chapman says, as a part of a team. So you got to be committed to the child and you got to be committed to the other relationship that you're no longer part of, but no other reason to restore wholeness to the children. That's tough, right? You got to find grace in your heart, Gary Chapman says, for all of the members of the parenting team. And that can be very, very difficult. But if you count up the cost, the advantage to children is exponential, right? Having a stable environment in this world for our children is exponential to keep them from being caught in between home battles, giving them predictable boundaries. It is great for the children. And here's an added benefit that I love that he raises in this book. When you play to your individual strengths and you step back to allow step parents and the other biological to play to their strength, you have a powerful, potent team where there are no outsiders. And if you emotionally remove the step parent, or the step parent emotionally removes him or herself, you're really asking for the opportunity there to be no balance or peace. And you know, my definition of the opposite of equilibrium is dis-ease. When your body or your emotional state is not in balance, it's at dis-ease. That's where stress comes from. That's where high blood pressure comes from. That's where all of these things that impact us emotionally and psychological, because we're not in balance, right? And we should want for our children to have that balance, right? Think of it this way: if you're in that kind of relationship, you might have a very rigid style, and while your child is going through this adjustment, the step parent might have a very laid back style. You could play to the strength of that laid back style so that step parent gets to lean in and learn what the issues are from the standpoint of the child. It helps to build that rapport, and it helps allow them to play to their strengths and release the control in an area that you may not be as effective, right? And then you have to think about this thing that Gary Chapman talks about, which I think is absolutely important. Absolutely important. A lot of times we only see loss as being death, right? And it is loss. But the absence of someone in your life is a deficit. It is a loss. The absence of the normal routine of two parents in a home, parents loving each other and living together, is a loss, not only to those children, but to you. And if you don't account for that space, it impacts your ability to blend this family. So you got to have space for grief. Because loss, Gary Chapman says, complicates bonding and building love. So the thing he recommends, and I agree with him, is to grieve well. Not to rush anybody on the process of grieving, and not to down that every person has a unique path and journey through grief, even if they share the same loss. Even if both parents divorced before and there was infidelity involved, the children are going to experience those losses very differently, and they will widely vary in terms of the emotional impact. And that's exacerbated or compounded if there was a conflict in the divorce, or even if it was amicable. That grief journey is ongoing, and you have space and room for it, and not judge how long it's taking someone to walk through that space. Because what you may not give full account for, and this is one of the most profound things I think I got from this book, and I want you to get: a new marriage, a new relationship does not put a halt to sadness, hurt, or loss. And it certainly doesn't bring a stop, he says, to the recalibrations that loss brings. I'm going to say that again: a new marriage, a new relationship. He talks about some statistics about unmarried couples getting up, and how that works as well. I invite you to read more. A new marriage does not put a stop, an end to, does not halt sadness, hurt, or loss. And it doesn't stop the effects that that loss brings. So because you are now in love with your new husband, your new wife, it does not end the grief for you. It does not end the grief for your children. It does not end the grief for your new spouse if he had some grief going on in his life, because you are now in a new space. So you're dealing with happiness and joy, loss, sadness, hurt, betrayal, and grief. And if you discount that, it takes longer for those carrots to soften. It takes longer for those peas. I don't know if you put the peas in your stew. It takes longer for those to become a part of the roux. Why? Because you're still contending with them. You have to give yourself full space to deal with them. It's really important. And I love that point that he raises. Thank you for joining those folks that are coming in on TikTok. I see you. I wanted to share this. I'm going to another quick break. We're talking about blended families and the 5 languages of love, and I'm going to talk a little bit of a refresh of those. If you've watched Love and Stuff for any amount of time, I've certainly used these 5 languages of love and helping you to get more out of your relationships and give more to them. And we'll be talking intentionally about them this year, and hopefully we'll get Gary Chapman to come on and talk with us. But I want you to think about your relationships when you're thinking about these 5 languages of love. But before I go to break, I wanted to talk about one of the statistics from this book, again, which is available on Amazon right next to mine. See, I saw that in. The divorce rate for blended family couples is between 10 to 25% higher than first marriages. I want to make sure you hear that, chew on that before I go to break. The divorce rate for blended family couples is between 10 to 25% higher than first marriages. Think about that. That's right. Darlene is saying to my TikTok friends on Facebook, she's saying a new marriage for the adults does not guarantee a successful merger of a family bond. It certainly does not, as we've seen with those statistics. We'll be right back. I am going to one of our partners, June Rochelle Eaton, has a beautiful business called Detroit Couture Ladies, DetroitCouture.com. You can order online, and she is having a blowout sale. You want to go online and check her out, June Eaton, DetroitCouture.com.
Hi, my name is June Rochelle, and I own Detroit Couture. We are a fashion-forward women's boutique, and we offer friendly sizes from small all the way up to 3X women's sizes, very generously fit, very great quality. I actually have on one of our pieces today. It's called the Cuffed Up. It's in gray, burgundy, and black and olive. And it actually has a lot of stretch and give. So listen, in this time, we try to make sure that, first of all, it's quality and customer service that we offer our clients. And I'm so glad to have this opportunity to share with you. So go and visit us at DetroitCouture.com.
DetroitCouture.com. June Rochelle Eaton has been an amazing partner to us. I can tell you, I swear by sending people to June, and they are always grateful and thankful for the great pieces that she has. Go to DetroitCouture.com and support her in that business. And she has a sale for gowns. So if you're thinking about getting married, you want to be a bridesmaid, you're just buying one in faith, go get your dress, so that you can be prepared to love that more in 2024, DetroitCouture.com. All right. We're talking about the book, Building Love Together in Blended Families, 5 Love Languages. And I'm thinking that I'm going to invite you to the book, and we're going to probably do some reading throughout this year. Not a book club per se, but I want other people to read the book and give your thoughts. And come on, if you're interested in doing that, we would love to have a group of you to do that. I think it's a great book. And not only for blended families, there are a lot of blended families in our world. But if you are a part of an extended family and blending in your family, it's a good gold mine of information for you to help in that situation, because your community Your village can make a difference in how well you live. All right. So I talked a little bit about the divorce rate. Um, and I wanted to share more from the book. Uh, some very powerful things that Gary Chapman says is the love of God is not based on our ability to earn that love. It's freely offered. Knowing that God sets you free to pass along his love and forgiveness to others in your home is part and parcel of knowing that love. Loving well in any aspect of your life, he says, comes by knowing the source of love. Okay? So living in a blended family, though it's a long, often challenging journey, if you always point back to the source of love and understand that love, know that love, loving well is that better chance within your relationships. Okay? So we're going to look at the 5 love languages a little bit, and we talked about these before. Because they're the way that he applies them, it has 3 ways that he wants you to apply these 5 things. We'll talk about the 5 things in a second. He wants you to apply them with humility in a blended family, with intentionality, and with discipline. I think applies to the 5 love languages, period. But I think especially to a blended family. There's humility is to remain teachable and not think more highly of yourself than the other person, than that stepchild or step parent. Okay. Intentionality, he describes, is to give careful consideration to what will be most loving to the other person. Okay. Real important. And discipline, to regulate one's thoughts and feelings, especially during times the relationship is uncertain or rocky, so that you respond and act in loving ways. It's life-giving, he says, for both children and adults, and it adds to everyone's value and worth, restoring trust and safety and security, which inspires us to love in a similar manner. Okay. So I want to talk about these, if I can bring them up to share with you these love languages. And again, I want you to definitely, let me see if I got bookmarks here. Bear patient with me. Look at me. All right. All right. I just want you to be able to see them. All right, good. I'm going to share my screen. You have to buy the book, but I'm sharing my screen. All right, so, okay, hopefully you can see the screen now. So the first one is words of affirmation. Okay, and we talked about this a little last week because we talked about when you do the opposite of the words of affirmation for someone whose love language is affirmation, it's devastating. And so we gave warning signs last week, right? But here are the words. Here are the 5 love languages from Building Love Together in Blended Families. Okay, and for TikTok, because you can't see it, I'm talking through it. Words of affirmations are words that speak to the worth of an individual. Okay. And there are different dialects, Gary Chapman says, and one of them is a heartfelt compliment. So if you know your stepchild, your stepbrother, your stepmother, your step grandparents love word affirmation, oh, you look good today. Oh, you did a really great job. Oh, this house is so beautiful. You cleaned it so well. You keep it so nice. I appreciate your being truthful with me. You look gorgeous in that outfit. You look 20 years younger. All right. Or another dialect of words of encouragement. You almost made your goal. I know if you keep trying, you're going to be great at basketball. Or words of praise, focusing on the effort instead of focusing on the not person, right? You work really hard on raking the leaves. You work really hard on building that garage. You work really hard on grilling today. Love language can be spoken verbally or in writing. The purpose is to affirm things you simply appreciate about the person. And as we warned last week, a words of affirmation person whose love language is words of affirmation can be emotionally devastated by insults, sarcasm, and harsh words. That dress sure is kind of tight. Ooh, you gained a little weight. Those things could be emotionally devastating, especially in a relationship where you're both not motivated yet to love each other. It's hard to blend. Okay. I move into quality time, giving someone your undivided attention. And as I shared last week, quality time is my primary language. Okay. I like people's time. I like undivided attention. I like if we're eating dinner, a dinner date or with friends, that you're not on your phone with somebody else. I like your attention. This may involve meaningful conversations where you share thoughts, feelings, desires, or frustration. The important thing is that you give your full attention to the other person. They are talking. You look at them, nod your head, trying to understand their perspective. So a dialogue time is sharing meaningful experiences of walking in the park. Love it. Love it. Let's go walking. Playing a game together. Going shopping together. Doing a service project together. The important thing is not what you are doing, but why you are doing it, to spend time together. And in my next book on the gratefulness journey every day, and I'm talking about friendships, I have friends who have all lifelong said to me, but I don't have to see you all the time. But my love language is spending quality time, right? A quality time person can be hurt by half-hearted or distracted listening. If I say, "You listening to me, what you say? Say it again. I'm sorry." Or by repeatedly postponing promised time together. Those are ways that you can hurt someone new into a relationship when you're trying to get into their love language. Okay. Number gifts or receiving gifts, giving someone something meaningful to them. The gift may be purchased, handmade, or found as you took a walk in the park. What the gift says is they were thinking about me when we were apart. And some people like to give gifts. Some people have the spirit of giving on them, right? The gift doesn't have expensive. It's really the thought that counts. It's the thought and effort behind a gift that sends the I love you message, right? He goes on to say, a gifts person can be hurt by a forgotten anniversary or birthday, or left feeling empty in a relationship void of tangible tokens of love. For some, the physical presence of someone they care about is a manifestation of a gift, and they can be hurt when someone doesn't show up at an important time. Hope this is helping somebody. Acts of service, doing things to help another person. In a marriage, this would or could include meals, doing laundry, walking the dog, picking up a prescription, taking out the trash, mowing the grass or lawn, changing the baby's diaper. With children, it is doing for them that the things that they cannot do for themselves, and then teaching them to do age appropriate things for themselves or others. Okay. Would it be helpful for you if I water the flowers? Action speaks louder than words to those who have this love language. An acts of service person can be hurt by laziness, someone leaving a mess for them to clean up, or forgotten promises to help. And then physical touch, which is number 5. And that is my secondary language, connecting with someone physically. The emotional importance of touch. That's why we pick babies up, hold them, and cuddle them. Long before the baby knows the meaning of the word love, they feel love through physical touch, right? High fives are a dialect of physical touch. A pat on the shoulder, sitting close on the sofa. Sometimes it's a foot massage or a back rub. It's a hug. It's a kiss, right? And it requires discernment as to how and when, especially in blended families where you would do hugging and kissing. All right. So I wanted to share those 5 love languages so that you'd understand these love languages are pretty important to the cause of loving somebody language that matters to them. Okay. If that's making any sense, drop something in the comment, blend it. Drop in the comment love languages. Or Those of you that are watching, drop in the comments your primary love language. Now that you've heard them, I want to hear from you. What's your primary love language? Okay, give you a second to drop those in the comments. Want to hear from you. Got some folks on YouTube. Thank you so much. Folks on TikTok, folks on Facebook, looking for some Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch TV folks to chime in or show me that you're here. And while we're doing that, drop in the comments. What is your love language? Are the words of affirmation? Are they acts of service? Are they quality time? Are they physical touch? And what's the other one I'm missing? Acts of service, quality time, physical touch, gifts. It's 5 of them I said. Words of affirmation, quality time, act service, gifts, physical touch. All right. Want to make sure I got them, right? What's your language? Drop it in the comments. Okay. Whether you're on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, all of those places. Drop it in the comments. What is your language? Okay. Really important to know that because you have to be self-aware, right? And when you are dealing with someone who is not motivated to love you, because love has a motivation. What's the motivation to love someone who's replacing my parent, someone who's replacing my sibling? What's the motivation, right? May not have arrived to be a part of the stew yet, right? They're rigid. They're like that carrot that's just been rinsed off. You don't even want to bite in it. You want to hurry up and get in the stew so that over time it can soften, right? So you're engaging someone who doesn't have a motivation to love you yet. You have to be aware of your love language, Gary Chapman says, so that you can dial back expectations that they will love you in that language because they're not motivated to do it yet. And it requires patience, right? And what you have to do is to find out their love language and begin to love them at different levels, least intimate to most as it grows, with patience, right? Overall, but with humility, right? With intentionality and with discipline. Is that making sense to anybody? You know how you want to be loved. And he gives some wonderful examples in the book. He gives an example of a couple, a man whose wife died of cancer after a brief illness. She had a diagnosis and she was gone in 2 months. And within the year, the man remarried. Okay. Before he remarried, the life he had with that wife is that enjoyed their children and their grandchildren and their parents, and they all spent a lot of time socializing together. And so guess what? He tried to force the new wife and children into that pattern because it was his love language for quality time, but it wasn't hers. While she didn't mind spending some of the time with this new family, she didn't want a life where every weekend or every time that it could just become a large family gathering. He didn't back his desire and need for the quality time or dial up hers or find a balance in between. He automatically infused her into the patterns that were pre-existent, and it created major conflict in their relationship. So you got to think about it. When you're a step parent and your love language is hugging, it's high-fiving, it's fist bump, and it's what you do with your son. So now you have a stepson and you want to do the same thing with him, but that's not his love language, and he is not yet motivated to love you. So you have to start with the least intimate. And you have to determine and get his input on what that is. Is it an air high five? Is it like, all right, thumbs up? whatever it is, you have to do it with humility, understanding his love language is not the same as yours and his motivation either, with intentionality, not as a salesperson, because that's not what you want. You want a relationship. You don't want to manipulate. You want a relationship, right? And with discipline. You have to be relentless with doing it. You cannot give up, even if he's not responding in the way that feeds back your love language. Really important. Because if you go to try to love somebody in their love language at their most intimate level, you're probably going to get the rejection that hurts. And rejection hurts us all. But you got to dial back. You need to have your love language with someone who's not motivated yet of you. You got to come to an awareness that this person feels they have more to lose than to gain in being in relationship with me. Could be competing for the love of the parent in the house. Now I'm sharing my parent with a stranger, right? If it's a parent-child, right? Or I've got this other parent, as I expressed earlier, who's in a different house, in a different state, in a different location, or who is no longer alive, that I feel guilty. I feel some kind of way having a bonus dad, a stepdad, another parent. They're not motivated to love you. They're not motivated to be intimate with you at the highest level of whatever their love language is. So you got to start at a low level. You got to start at what Gary Chapman says is the least intimate level in their love language, with humility, intentionality, and discipline, right? Really important. It's an amazing book, and I hope that more people will consider utilizing it. And again, even if you are in a village where there are blended families, this will help you love them through it, right? I love some of the other things that I want to share before we come to 9:30. This hour is gone quickly. The best way to help a child move toward a step parent, I love this that he says, is for the biological parent to first move toward the child. A child who has already lost a parent to death or divorce does not want to now lose connection with their biological parent who has fallen in love with another person. So if your child feels you slipping away, they want more of you, not less. For you to demand indiscriminately that they move toward their step parent or future step parent is to ask them to sleep with the enemy. It's much better, Gary Chapman says, for you to move toward them by speaking their primary love language so they feel your continued presence while you also invest yourself in the new love relationship. Because eventually it will show them that the new parent is not a threat. And you got to see that it is a real reality, even if you're in a village on the periphery, that children often in the blended situations see themselves as outsider to the step parent. They see themselves in a position to potentially lose another parent. You have to be aware of that behaviors that you see evidenced is just some bad child, some smart mouth child, some smart alecky child. All of the resistance that they're framing is from a place of anger, hurt, frustration, and we could fill in the blank with so many other things. And when you are aware of that, the love that you give should be informed by that so that you can love them well. Be quick to forgive them. They are out of. Now, it doesn't mean you become a doormat. That's not what it means. But be quick to forgive them when they act out of anger. And double back to them at a later point and say, I noticed that wasn't acceptable, but I want to explore why we had that blow up. What did I do something that made you feel triggered? They may say that your very presence triggers me and say, why is that? I want to grow in relationship with you. And I know you don't have any reason to believe me except to watch and see. I'm going to show you my best that I not only want to love your mother or love your father in a case, right? I want to show you that you are a part of that package because you're answering for them. Who am I to you? Who are we to each other? And you're doing it in a love language that recognize that they value that is important to them. So again, if it's words of affirmation, when that child is acting out or that sibling is acting out, I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but I love the way that you stand up for yourself. Here's how I'd love for us to work on doing it differently so that I don't feel like you just disregarding me. I want to regard you. What could help me regard you better in their love language? Doing so builds what Gary Chapman says is trustworthiness. Before you can get to trust, you start with love through humility, intentionality, and discipline. You start with that love, and then your consistency brings trustworthiness because they know what to expect from you. That even if you aren't as kind as you could be to me, my kindness waters you. And they know they can expect that from you. They'll try it. They'll try you. But your trustworthiness means that you have an integrity about yourself that you're going to show up the same way every time, and they can trust that. And once they find you worthy of trust, begin to lower the guard so that they can trust you. And you continue to build on that trust by watering it with loving well, as Gary Chapman described earlier. Because you're flowing from a source that you know is love, God love, right? And he knows that we are imperfect. He will forgive, right? If we're willing to apologize and turn it, right? And you continue to measure out that same love. And then trust builds. And the low heat from the slow cooker of blended families is just enough to take something that has so many different textures, soften it, and make it delicious for everyone. Make it something great for everyone. I recommend to all of you to get this book. And here's why. Whether you're in a blended family or not, chances are you know someone in a blended family and you're a part of their village. And what you can help them do is to help them with this blend, this slow cooker. You're part of that slow cooking. If you're a grandmother and you have step grandchildren, read this book. And you're like, you're really selling this book. Well, I really should be selling mine, shouldn't I? I'm selling it because in alignment with our theme this year, love.more.2024, what if you and I take more responsibility for the people that are in our village to help them love more? You know a blended family that has struggled. I know some that have struggled with these principles and concepts. Maybe you share the book with them to read. Maybe next time that you're at a family dinner or gathering, you share some observations with them that will help them love more. See, often when we think about love and relationship, it's just about boo and bae, honey pie and may, right? Sweetie pie, right? But there are so many opportunities for us to love more in our relationships. I don't know about you. I need to love more in my relationships. And I need more love from my relationships. Hence love.more.2024. Because I realize that in a world where missiles are deployed near embassies, where people are killed, where ceasefires are not honored, where heartless leaders win primary elections in states. What we really need is more love, more forgiveness, more humility, more intentionality, more discipline. And if we wait for someone else to do it, we may not achieve it because you and I have a role in it to bring more love into this world and our community, in our family, and our relationships. And I hope you will join me in doing that very thing. No, it's not easy. And no, the other people involved, the other parties are not always motivated or willing to love you in the way which you want and deserve to be loved. But that's okay. Not everyone has that capacity or understands the importance of that capacity to love you. So the best thing to do is to love without restraint, to love intentionally, with humility, with discipline, consistently, to garner the results that you deserve to have in those relationships. Don't mistake that there are boundaries that you set when there are unhealthy relationships. That's not what we're talking about, right? Because if you're in an unhealthy relationship with another adult, you have to set boundaries that create opportunities for change and repentance in those relationships. And sometimes those don't come, and you learn to love them from the distance of those boundaries. But where you have family that you want to blend, you want to have harmony and balance, it's worth the investment to love without restraint. It's 9:32. I said I was going to do my best to stay within the hour, and has been an hour this time on by. Again, the name of the book by Gary Chapman, and I have to get the name of the other gentleman. He co-wrote this book, but most of the 5 love languages are written just by him. But this book is co-authored, but it's called Building Love Together in Blended Families, 5 Love Languages. And I suggest you get it. I think it is great reading. I am planning to share it with a few folks and maybe get some people to join on a panel, talk more about it as we go through the year. We will be leaning more into love this year. There are so many things around love, as you maybe have heard yesterday from the Martin Luther King celebrations, replays that we did yesterday. We have a love for justice. We want to see justice throughout our land. And the great and mighty legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we want justice to run down, right? We want people to achieve economic and social justice and equity, right? We have a love for that. We have a love for relationships, that people get in the relationships that affirm them, that make them feel valued and worthy. Because when you are in a relationship that makes you feel affirmed, valued, and worthy, you are times more productive than when you're not. That's right. When you're loved in the way you need to be loved and desire to be loved, you're times more productive than not. When you are able to reconcile with family members and you're able to reconcile relationships, it helps to reduce your blood pressure. It helps to shift the chemical makeup of your brain. Did you know that? Your illness is dependent upon, in some regard, and how well you handle your relationships. Can you see why I want you to love more 2024? I submit that we'll be happier and healthier and wealthier and wiser if we handle the people that God has blessed us to have in and on their lives. I'm Marcus Holmes. I appreciate your being here, and I just need you to do one special thing for me. Whether you're watching on Facebook Live, TikTok Live, YouTube events, Twitch TV, Instagram, or Twitter, I need you to click share and tag someone that you know as a member of a blended family. Tag someone who you know as the grandparent to some stepchild or bonus child. If you've ever heard anyone use that word bonus, tag them. Tag 1, tag 5, tag 10 to keep the discussion going, and invite them to consider purchasing the book. It is available, as you saw, on Kindle, hard copy, Audible if you want to listen to the book and its principles. I think it's a great book to do, and I want to invite you to do that, all of you. I hope you will do that right this moment and tag them to join us. All right? Right before we go, I got to tell you about the book. It's The Gratefulness Journey Every Day. It is a book that I have authored, and it speaks from my personal journey through loss and grief. Both of my parents are deceased, 3 of my 4 siblings, my best friends, and I learned some powerful along that journey about gratefulness that I want to share with you, that I know will transform your journey as well. Whether you are frustrated, whether you have anger management issues, whether you're dealing with loss, whether you're dealing with microaggressions on the job, gratefulness is a powerful practice. And I share with you 3 principles about grace that you can incorporate in your day starting right now that will transform your life in 30 days. Here is MJ of Shahs of Sunset to tell you a little bit about her support for gratefulness. Her husband uses gratefulness for his anger management. And so thankful that she was willing to do this for us. Gratefulness Journey Every Day. What are you doing in the next 30 days to transform your life is available on Amazon.
Marcus, I want to congratulate you on Love and Stuff. I really want you to know that staying grateful and understanding the power of what it is to be operating out of a space of abundance and gratitude is the most important part of every journey of every day. So Marcus June, congratulations on this book. It's on Amazon now. That makes me so proud of you and your family and me and my family, and every single person around us gets it. So good on you for bringing it into the hands and the laps and the Kindles of all the people. Okay, so we're going to check it out. Can't wait to learn more.
I'm so grateful for MJ from Shahs of Sunset. I really, really, really appreciate it. There is the link that is covering me up. I'm trying to fix it. It's covering me up. It is available. If you scan that with your device, that QR code will take you directly to purchase it. I think it has 4.7 out of 5 stars still. Grateful for everyone that has purchased the book. And I'm grateful that I was able to share part of the journey. It is becoming a series. I'm doing this journey every day relative to my friendships, which I think are really important relationships because you get to choose your friends, right? And gratefulness around food. As many of you know, I'm kind of foodie, and Autumn and I have talked about different recipes that we want to include in the book. And so I'm excited to be able to bring those 2 offerings to you hopefully soon. And there is the QR code for that. Thank all of you for joining and being here tonight. And I again hope that you will click share and tag someone to join us tomorrow at 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Darren Williams with Love and the Scripture. You will, for the balance of the month, have replays from him. He is taking a well-needed rest, and we are so proud of the work that he is doing as an educator and a pastor, a busy man, and he needs that balance. And so He will rejoin us in February, but you don't want to miss some of the powerful lessons on the pillars of love that he has delivered here. And we're just so the work that he's doing. And on Saturday, now a weekly show since the new year, the two fellas that love to talk all things sports, they love sports. We're all about things and people we love. And Kamal Williams and Felix Holmes, they are sports with Kamal and Felix for the latest in sports news. They're going to be talking about the Lions. One of them loved the Lions. One of them didn't think those would get where they're going. You want to tune in to hear their predictions, stupid sports news, women in sports, all things sports, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time on every Saturday now. I'm so grateful to be at the helm of this Love Network, I'm going to call it, because it's all about love. And we're not perfect purveyors of love. I don't want you to ever think that that is what we are saying out here. We're not perfect purveyors. We're just perfectly positioned to be able to present love and receive love from other people. And that's what we want to do. We want to up our love game in this world. And if you want to do that, put hashtag up your love game, go to the Love and Stuff page, click the notification bell, and follow us and join us on an extraordinary journey all about love. I'm Marcus Holmes. I'm grateful to be here tonight. I will see you next Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you.
Yeah.